dubbed the sports trial of the century by some. Would you agree with that?
I don't care. I mean,
No.
in the nicest possible way. It's like probably. Yeah, I can imagine the implications for the Premier League and the rest of the sides. They're going to be huge. If it goes one way in particular, there's no way that this won't be headline news for an awful long time when the verdict comes out. So I can't deny that impact. It's really weird as a football fan to be so connected to it. Ultimately, I am still just a Manchester City fan. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on these things, and I find the ideas of spreadsheets in football incredibly tedious. It's just me. I'm a football fan first and foremost, but I can't deny the fact that it follows Manchester City around. It's something that we as City fans have had to sort of front up a little bit as well. It's really strange because ultimately this is to do with money men behind the scenes that none of us know the names of. Accountants essentially. Yeah, football fans and the way football's going these days, there's so much transparency and there's so many battles, not just on the pitch, that we're so aware of it via various forms of media that it's hard to ignore, especially in the era of PSR and all that kind of stuff with the sanctions. So it is very much at the forefront of Manchester City fans' minds, myself included. I don't want it to be. I just genuinely just enjoy football for what it is. But we can't deny that this is an incredibly important moment in the history of Manchester City Football Club. It absolutely is. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. I am genuinely relaxed as a City fan. My feelings towards Manchester City do not change depending on the outcome of this result. As long as Manchester City exists and plays kicking the football, I will be there. I'll be watching my team because that's what I'm there for. I'm not here for this success. I'm not here for this money that currently follows the club around. I'm here because I've been a Manchester City fan all my life, and nothing will change that. Whether we're playing, against Wrexham in League One, or we're playing against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Some things for me will never really change. So I understand the severity of it all. I understand why there's so much focus. But I think it gets lost a little bit from my perspective, anyway, and from the fans' perspective, that we're football fans ultimately, and we're here for that, and not the other side of it.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously huge for both sides, the City and the Premier League, but it's just something now that all football fans, not just City, they just want this over as soon as possible, really.
Yeah,
It's dragged
I think
on for
Pep
so
does as
long.
well.
There's so much uncertainty going around. It's a very complex matter. Um, people have put asterisks over City's name and their honours and things like that. But yeah, people just want this to come to a close now. And like I said, City and Guardiola and City's hierarchy, they're fully convinced they're innocent. Guardiola said in his press conference prior to the Brentford win, he said he's looking forward to looking forward to the decision, and he's happy with the hearing. The hearings will start soon and hopefully end soon, which I'm sure everyone's the same with that. He's also said as well, I quote, "I know there'll be more rumours, news specialists about the sentences. We're going to see. I know what people are looking forward to, what to expect. I know what I read from many, many years. Everyone is innocent until guilt is proven." And I think as well with some of the things Guardiola's been talking about, he's almost come across a bit frustrated with the way that City have been treated by media outlets, rival
Yeah.
clubs. Even La Liga president Javier Tebas has come out and said that he's apparently spoken to Premier League clubs, and he's quoted as saying most of them understand that City should be sanctioned. And I think, Guardiola and City would be rightly frustrated that people are coming out with those things because at the end of the day, the City wants this to be a process where it's treated properly, they're treated fairly, and so that people, before people start jumping to conclusions.
No, yeah, I have to say, I have to agree with that. Like, ultimately, I'm not an idiot. I understand there are I'm sure there are reasons to be investigating Manchester City, but I would like to say, from a City fan perspective, and a lot of people don't, they presume we're just sort of defending our club for the sake of it because we're City fans, but I can only trust as a Manchester City fan. I can only take the words of Guardiola, I can only take the words of what the players have been told and the CEO, and I can only take it at face value until otherwise. Look, if it comes out they were wrong, then fair play. As a fan, I'd accept it. But look, Guardiola's been very passionate about it. He made a very memorable quote, more or less a day or two after the charges were announced, and he said, "Julius Caesar said, in this world there are no enemies or friends, there are just interests." And he's not wrong to say that. Ultimately, I do believe. I don't know how far it goes, but I do think Manchester City's very existence is a threat to this financial security or the success of other sides. It is. It's undeniably true. And you're talking a lot about money, but City have undeniably, once again, spent that money very, very, very well. There's been largely there's been more or less no failures in the transfer market. A couple recently in midfield, arguably, but City have spent that money well. They've got, they've hired the best, but they've done the best job at the same time. You've only got to look at Man United or Chelsea to see what spending billions of pounds can get you. It can get you absolutely nowhere if you don't know what you're doing with it. So as much as, I understand there are probably reasons to investigate, I think it's really naive from even fans of other sides to deny the fact that there's probably pressure and lobbying going on. Of course there is. Like City have come in and flooded the market with a lot of money, and they did spend an awful lot. It's slowed down over the past 5, 6, 7 years. It absolutely, genuinely has. Like City's net spend is like the lowest over the past 5 years of any Premier League side. That's an actual fact. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but it's genuinely true. But I do feel there is a side to it that people aren't considering, that it's beneficial for everyone, for Chelsea, for Arsenal, for Liverpool, United, for City to be made to look bad, to be investigated. And how much of it holds up, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think it's beyond reason to consider that there is another angle to this, that City are possibly being singled out or whatever, And people will say, oh, you're just a City fan, you're being defensive. But there are always two sides to this. And Guardiola is right. There are interests, and City's rise does threaten the stability or the success of other clubs. So, look, when you've seen, as a City fan, it's hard not to roll eyes when you've seen pictures of meetings and you've got, board members of United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal sat around having a meal in London. And you're like, there's no City represented there. It feels a bit conspiracy theorist territory, but come on, like football is so petty and it's so childish, and you've only got to look at all the stuff that goes around allegedly about FIFA and UEFA representatives with big events and tournaments to know that money changes hands, money moves things, and people talk. We're not stupid. Like my view of football is that everyone is out to get everyone all the time, and things happen constantly. So this is why, as a football fan, I just try and step back a little bit and just enjoy the football. But I do feel like, one side of it has been very heavily portrayed in the media for very obvious reasons, because it's very easy to get out. And I do sometimes feel frustrated as a City fan, because people are very willing to ignore that it's very beneficial for everyone else if City suddenly just disappear or don't have the money. That's not to say City might not deserve that. They might do. But I think it's very worth considering that other side potentially. And I guess, look, time will tell. And as I said earlier, not if City are playing in League One in a few years' time. We were doing that when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and it didn't scare me then, and it wouldn't scare me now.